girls have their voices. And when you talk about voice goes beyond just speaking out, but getting that spaces to talk about issues that affect them, one, issues that affect their community, two, and the issues that affect the nation as well. Usually issues that affect them are decided for them by other people. Issues that affect their community, they are not even invited to speak or participate at all. And issues that even affect their nation, they don't get the opportunity to contribute to it. But you realize that girls know what is going around them. They know what is changing among their bodies, their environment, their communities. And so it's important that they are given the opportunity to express their own issues, their own stories, tell it the way, however way they want to express it. When they are given that space, a space where they will be very comfortable, a space where they will not be victimized, a space where they will not be discriminated, a space where they can speak in any way, in any language, in any tone that they can speak, to feel comfortable and to feel they are being listened to, they are being respected as well. And so when you talk about girls having their own voices, it's about all of us giving them that opportunity to speak about issues that affect them. One, affect their own bodies, affect their communities, affect even their nation as well. And that is where we have a responsibility as individuals, as organizations, to create that spaces for girls to tell their story. So maybe I'm zooming in and merging it how we can all help for girls to amplify their voices. And one of the the thing I'll talk about is education. When girls are educated, they become more empowered, they become more confident, they become more outspoken to talk about the issues that affect them more. And data has shown it that the more girls stay in school, it delays their marriage, it delays a lot of things, so they are not easily entered into marriage, it delay their pregnancy as well. And when girls are educated, they see to it that their children are also educated. So it's important that one of the things we can do to support girls have their voices and amplify their voices to ensure that we keep girls in school. They go to school and then they stay in school as well, and then they are not dropped out. So it's important that we ensure that as individuals, we ensure girls stay in school. As organizations, we ensure, and also we ensure that the state maintains their policies and measures to ensure that girls are not just going to school, but they go through the process from the primary school to junior high school to senior high school, and being to a level where they desire to be. And so it's important that we go through this process. And then to get girls amplify their voice, also one is helping girls to know their rights. It's important that we help girls to know their rights, to know their responsibilities. When girls know their right, they can stand up for their own. When they know they can say no to something, they can actually stand up. We can't always be there to support them or to speak up for them. And so it's important that when we get opportunity, we help them to know their rights, and at any point in time, they can stand up for themselves, then they can amplify their voices. We create spaces. So I'm happy that we have some of our young students also here to talk about the things happening among them. So this is one of the means we can help them amplify their voices, not speaking for them, but also knowing that when there's a space, we give them that space to tell the story as it is to them, and not just speaking for them, but we give them such opportunity to take up decision making, to take up leadership roles. Girls everywhere are doing a lot of great things. They are changing the world in their own way with their stories they are writing. It's important that we create such spaces for them to also contribute to whatever is happening around them. So it's important that we listen to them, we respect their views, and not just think that they are girls, they are young, and so they don't have anything offering. You'll be amazed to listen to the girls, what they have in store. And even in the country, if you start a conversation, a national conversation on governance, on agriculture, you'll be amazed that they know well. I'm sorry, there's a cock making noise at my background. So, yeah. that cock is very stubborn. So I think it's important that we do that. we listen to them. We shouldn't just always pick up for them when it's time for leadership, especially for us who work with girls. When we go to work with them, we should give them that opportunity to decide what they want to do. You ask them about their ground rules, and you'll be amazed the rules they will set for their own group. And then they will tell you, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this, we want to that. We shouldn't always decide for them who is supposed to be your leader for the group. When you give them the power, when you give them the opportunity, they will select their own leaders, they will select their own rules, and they'll contribute to the decision making. That is where it starts from. So as we work with girls, we work with young people, it's important that we give them that spaces so that they can speak for themselves. We can do it with guidance, but not to always impose on them, but they can have now their own voices to decide what they want to do and what they do not want to do. So I think that this is a critical time in this such COVID era. It's also important that girls know what is happening around them and how they can also contribute to the fight and how they can also prevent themselves. When they have the information, education is very important. They can stand up for themselves. They know their rights. They stand up for themselves. And most importantly for us, how we can help them is that we have to listen to them and respect their views, no matter how it is coming, helping them to build their own confidence and stand up when they need be. So Teresa, I'm not sure if my 5 minutes is up
Yeah,
or our
time is almost up. It's up. So
yeah, so maybe I'll just wrap it here for the others to speak up and then I'll come up again if that's fine.
all right, thank you, Vera. Um, would invite Miss Chume Siwa Meno entry, to make her own presentation. So there's this myth that it's a man's world, but well, it's a man's world, but they're also women. So we have somebody who is going to speak about how girls can take up careers in male-dominated. You go to some offices and there are just men there, and there's just one woman. So she's going to share her own experiences and how we can empower ourselves as girls for that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Like Vera and Teresa put, I also like to speak about my own experience, what I've been through, and how I am still navigating this world, and how you can also maybe learn from a bit of my experience and use it to navigate your own world. So, as I introduced myself, I'm a metallurgist. I work in a gold lab. So, most of my life, I've worked in labs, and I'm also a photographer. And this thing we hear it all the time is a man's world, it's a man's world. And we have so many statistics showing us that there are fields which are mainly made up of men. We have very few men in those places. And for us as Africans, I think it's worse because our society helps worsen this narrow view by stereotyping women in every area of our lives, from home through to church to school. Even in the chores that are divided at home, we have girls being taken to the kitchen. You do a lot of the kitchen work whilst the boys are working with daddy or watching TV or all those things. So, but one thing that I always tell myself that I came to realize that our dreams and visions, they don't come with gender attached to them. So dreams and visions, however, do not come with gender tied to them. So you need to ask yourself, what is your dream? What is your goal? And one of the greatest mistakes we make in this world is to think that someone's success is in a particular field can limit your own success. We should know that our successes and our dreams are different. The person could actually be in your same field, but you can also come up and do maybe the same kind of thing, but yours will still be successful anyway, based on the hard work and the effort you put in it. So for me, I've always been an outlier. I'm not necessarily a deviant, but I found myself doing things that boys typically do. But in these times, I always thought I was doing something I liked. I didn't know that in others' views, it was something like you're always in a boys' world, a guy's world. And for me, it was simply working hard to achieve what I wanted to do. Although I didn't subscribe to this being a man's world, to be able to also succeed, you need to look at the world through the lens of society. So you need to do that to be able to measure your obstacles accurately, to be able to overcome them. So when I started work, I worked in a gold lab, and the head of department, I worked in a petroleum lab. His first problem was my gender. He asked why they posted a lady to the lab. And for me, that was my first obstacle. So I decided that I needed to. So I questioned, is it really possible that my gender won't make me succeed? So first and foremost, I needed to prove myself. I don't have to prove to anybody. I need to prove to myself that I can actually do this. Then secondly, to make everybody know that it's possible to do this. It doesn't have to come with this person is a girl or is a guy. And I thought it was just a unique case. But through these years of working, I realized that I face this is a man world at every 10 in photography, in metallurgy, in the gold industry, is almost always everywhere. And for everyone that I've been through, there's been a couple of things that I have done to be able to make it through. My first thing is I do not accept that this is a man's world. There are so many popular views that some rules are made for men, some rules are made for, but it may take a lot of years for the world to acknowledge the contributions of women. But we have a lot of them too, showing us that this is actually also a woman's role. Look at contributions of exceptional female mathematicians at NASA. If we've all seen the Hidden Figures movie, it shows us all that. So then secondly, hard work. You can't change the world's view of you by being average. Everybody already expects you to be average. You need to rise above that. You need to work to achieve it for yourself. You need to know that as women, generally, we are better managers than men. So you need to apply it. You need to make your femininity an asset, not a liability. It should help you do better in anything you choose to do. You need to make up your mind that because of you, an employer will give fair advantage to a woman. Then the other thing is to invest in yourself. The last time we had this, we spoke about how there are so many resources on the internet. If you decide that in this man's world you're going to succeed, you want to do this, how do I get there? You need to invest in yourself. If this is what I want to do, you need to identify people who have excelled in that area. It doesn't necessarily have to be women, but you need to choose people you're looking up to. You need to reach out to them. If you know that you're not doing well in this, you need to talk to people. And you cannot just, you need to get over the mediocre part. You need to do better than what you know. Then for me, as a Christian, everything I do, I fear of God is one of the basic things. Because I realize that if I fear God, all other things are in it. My work ethics are different. You have integrity, honesty. Every other thing is influenced by it. Then last and not the least, don't focus on your gender. If you want others to not treat you based on your gender, you don't need to use it as something to get by. That I'm a lady, so I deserve this. No, you need to fight for it because that is what you want to do. All of us need to attempt to change things around as one woman at a time. We're actually the larger majority in the world. So if every one of us try to change something around us together, this man's world will also become a woman's world. And as a woman or a girl, all individual voices will come together. Your voice will become my voice. And together, I think we will have an equal future. So I'd like to end here for the rest of us to talk. If any other thing you can, I'll come in again. So Teresa, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you, Chumesiwa. So Chumesiwa says you should not be limited by your gender. Don't say this is a man's job or this is a woman's job. And also for the girls, she says when there's an opportunity, don't say I'm a girl, so I want to relax and then get it for free. Work hard like everybody else is doing. So COVID-19 just has interrupted school, work, and everything we are doing. Actually, it's giving us a new normal, and then we are doing many things online. And so our next speaker is going to speak about how we can use ICT, social media, and other things. Girls can empower themselves using online tools, yes. And so Sonia Amenito from Togo is our next speaker. She's going to speak on how girls can empower themselves using ICT, social media, and all. Sonia.
You just said Afi Sonia Amenito. I'm a Togolese, so I do live in Togo, and I work in digital area, and we are going to talk about how can girls empower themselves through ICT. And ICT is everywhere today, and I don't think we have to go back. And if you don't know what ICT is, are using an ICT. So it's just that. Then what are the advantages of using ICT? And ICT can help you learn, ICT can help you empower yourself, and ICT can help you acquire new skills. And I am talking from experience. As a fact, I'm a lawyer by training, but I'm a communicator, and especially digital communicator by passion. I didn't attend school for that, but I learned. I am a self-trained, so I learned it on internet. I learned it with ICT, so you can have access to everything you want to do today on via internet, via all the platforms available. So to be able to empower yourself via ICT, you have first to have a vision. When I'm talking about vision, I don't know what you get, but for me, having a vision is just knowing about what I want. How do I want? Where do I want to go? Where am I getting? And when you decide about this, what I want, you can search through all the platforms available today and get all the courses and all the empowerment from there. So today you can learn how to code on ICT. You can learn how to become a now digital marketer or a community manager on ICT. And we have different platforms where you can learn. For instance, you can learn from EDX course. And during this pandemic period, Harvard has set some free courses for people so that they can learn uh, online. And you have another platform which is open classrooms, and the open classrooms platform is half free, and when you want to get a certificate you will have to pay for it. So we have all different platforms, but the fact is you have to know what you want first, and then go online and look for what you want. You can become a photograph, you can become a photograph, you can become a designer, as I just said. You can even become a fashion designer by learning on YouTube. You have free tutorials and free courses on YouTube for to go further. You will have to go for a specific platform where you can learn what you want to learn. And I'll just give my example to end my intervention. When I started, or when I had this passion burning me from inside, and my parents were like, you will go to school, you will go and you will learn what we want you to learn. And I was like, I don't want to learn to read law, but they were like, this is what we want you to do. And I was like, okay. And then I went for the law school, but when I was learning, I was still looking for my way, and I was still going on different platforms and looking for courses, looking for it is to learn more. And this is how I am today. And today I'm working in a company uh, in the marketing department, but I'm more focused on the digital area.
Well, so her network is on.
That's,
I think she's back. Yeah.
oh, okay. So back then when I started, I didn't even have a laptop. So I had to go during those 2 or 3 hours, still possible, because we usually say when there is a will, there is a way. And I think by the grace of God, we will be able to get where we want to get.
So thank you, Sonia. So Sonia is saying you can actually go to school and do what your parents want you to do, and then when you are old, you can still follow your passion. She's a lawyer by training, but she's practicing, she's in the digital space now and all. And so what she was saying towards the end when the video cut was that she didn't have a laptop on her own when she started, but because she was determined, she borrowed people's laptops to start her business and all. And so with determination, you're able to get what you want. After Sonia has spoken about ICT and the digital space, we have Anayi Muboy from Gabon going to speak about cyberbullying, how girls and women can protect themselves from cyberbullying, especially now that we are using the internet for everything. I think it's relevant for us. So Anayi, please go ahead.
So hi everyone again. Together we'll discuss violence against women, which is not a fun topic, yet addressing it is a necessity as too many young girls and women are suffering, often in silence, especially in our African countries. Before I start, I'll give you some figures and then you'll have to try and guess what these figures represent. So 99%, you have to tell me in which city or which country. 99% of the women interviewed have said that they already had been victims of sexual harassment in the streets. Where do you think it happened?
Hi everyone, it's for all of us. Please type in the comment section.
Where do you think it happened? 99% of the women interviewed said that they had already been confronted to sexual harassment. Someone said Togo, Congo. Any other guesses? Maybe one other guess? So I'll give the response. It's actually in, okay, so there's Africa, USA. Yeah, it's in Africa. It's in Egypt, in the streets of Cairo. Another figure, 110 cases of rape every 3 days. Where do you think it happens? 110 cases of rape every 3 days. In which country of the world? Someone says Gabon, Liberia. Another guess? Congo? No, it's in South Africa. And the last figure, 1995. It's an event, a major event for women's rights. Do you know where it happened? 1995. Can someone try and guess? So Kennedy says China, exactly, China. It's the Declaration of Beijing, exactly. Adoba says Beijing, exactly. So the UN, the United Nations has organized 4 main conferences on women. The first one was in 1975 in Mexico, and then there was one in Copenhagen, another one in Nairobi, and in 1995 in China. And the Declaration of Beijing. And the document we most talk about is the Declaration of Beijing and the Platform for Action. This year marks the 25th anniversary of this declaration. It is considered as a key global document on gender equality. And it sets 12 areas of concern, which include the girl child and also violence against women. So as I mentioned, we'll discuss violence against gender-based violence together. When you hear the term gender-based violence, what does it make you think of? When you hear about violence against women, what comes to your mind? So Ephraim says unfair treatment towards women or girls. Yes. Domestic violence. Indeed. Physical, sexual, psychological violence, says Jocelyn. Exactly. Yes. First of all, what we should all keep in mind is that violence has no skin color, violence has no age, nor culture, nor social background. So it concerns everyone. Often when we talk about violence against women, we tend to refer it as physical sexual violence, for instance, rape, female genital mutilation, or acid throwing, which is true. But there are other forms of violence which have consequences as disastrous um, as physical violence. Think about psychological violence that Jocelyn mentioned, which has to do with harassment, verbal insult. There's also administrative violence. You know that there are many young girls, many young African girls who are sent abroad as maids. They usually come from West Africa, from countries such as Benin, Togo, Nigeria, but also from other parts of Africa, such as East Africa, Ethiopia. And they're usually sent to Middle East countries as maids. And what happens there is that once they get there at the airport, the employer confiscates their official documents. So they take away from them their passports, ID cards. And this is to ensure they have total control over their victim. And often these young ladies are raped, beaten, they're transformed into like modern slaves. And there in those countries, there's no local assistance. And so, and they can't go back to they can't fly back to their countries because they don't have their passports anymore. So it's a really dramatic situation faced by many young African girls, and we don't talk a lot about this issue. There's also economic violence. Take for instance, when an abusive man will refuse that his partner works as a means of controlling his partner. He'll be the breadwinner, and then the woman will be financially dependent on him, entirely financially dependent on him. And keep in mind that financial dependence is one of the main reasons why women stay in abusive relationships. In regards to what's happening today in the world with the current sanitary crisis, it impacted terribly the lives of many. More than 1 million people died, but it's not the only negative consequence, as the spread of the virus and its risks to human health have forced governments to adopt strict measures, including the lockdown of many cities. And if you ask me today if there's a link between COVID-19 and the increase of gender-based violence cases, I'll respond by the affirmative. Definitely, yes. The lockdown, which was necessary, actually put many women and young girls in situation of danger, because overnight they were shut away in their houses with abusive partners, abusive fathers, their tormentors, with no possibility of escaping. And why? Because their cities were shut down, because centers for abused women don't exist in their countries, or just because the government didn't care about them and hadn't planned anything to help them. Also because when centers for abused women did exist in some countries, some of them had no more spaces, while others who usually provided like in-person services because of COVID-19 now offered services by phone or by email. Now put yourself in the shoes of an abused woman who lives with her partner in the same house. It's hard for her to pick up the phone or use the computer to send an email saying, reporting cases of violence, knowing that you have someone living in the same house as you who monitors your every single move. So it's almost impossible for them to report cases of help and to seek for help. Another reason is that streets were empty. Now stores are reopening, but many stores were closed now because of COVID-19. And there were many cases of women being raped or killed in empty streets. This happened a lot in India, but also in the Philippines. So I put the emphasis on in the physical world, the physical space, but there are other spaces that are where women are subjected to violence, and it's the virtual world. Actually, with cybercrime, cybercrimes are mainly the transposition of crimes committed in the physical world into the virtual world. I don't know if you're familiar with this term cybercrime, so I'll just maybe give a quick definition. Cybercrime, to make it simple, are the cybercrimes are the crimes that are committed using ICTs, so using phones, using computers, using tablets. Sorry, my dog is barking, I'm sorry. And there are many women are the main victims of cybercrime. There's a report from a UN commission that states that 73% of women internet users have already been confronted to cybercrime, to cyber violence. Amongst these violence, we find revenge porn, online harassment, but also online prostitution rings. The most popular cybercrimes are phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are the attacks is when the hacker sends you an email, for instance, sends you a mail pretending that he's your bank. And then you'll see the logo, everything will seem perfectly right. And then the hacker will ask you for personal information, whereas your bank will never ask you for personal information via mail. There's also identification theft. There's online harassment and cyber stalking, and there's revenge porn. I don't know how much time I have left. I'll quickly talk about revenge.
Please go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll quickly talk about revenge porn.
Anayik, your mic.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I said I'll talk about revenge porn, and then during the question session, we can talk about other cyber crimes, just to make sure I have enough time. I'll talk about revenge porn because women are the main victims of revenge porn. Revenge porn consists in publishing, sharing someone's intimate picture or video without his or her consent. There are many reasons behind revenge, as it's called, revenge porn. Revenge, jealousy, scam, but there are other reasons. I don't know if you heard about the story about 2 years ago of Diane Wigara, who was running to become president in Rwanda, and then whose dignity was shattered because, and she lost all her credibility to run as president because naked pictures of her emerged on social media. So it has disastrous consequences. The purpose behind is clearly to harm the image of the victim. And as I just said, it has devastating consequences. The victim, of course, is ashamed. Sometimes women are rejected by their own families and also by society. So there's social pressure. After doing the question session, I'll share with you a story of a young girl who really touched me. And revenge porn leads to devastating social and psychological consequences. characterized by isolation. So often the victim will will refuse to go out of her house, out of her even out of her room. It will also be characterized sometimes by eating disorders. So the victim will start feeding herself. Also characterized by addictions, when the victim starts taking drugs or alcohol. And sometimes it can lead to suicide. And that's why I'm talking about devastating consequences. So we see that women are subjected to violence in the physical space, but also in the virtual world. So what responses can we bring to gender-based violence? I think that first of all, we should not, we can't fight gender-based violence by only pointing to the responsibility of men. I think that there are different levels of responsibility. The government is responsible. The government, I've talked to different friends of mine who live in different African countries, and it's as if the situation is almost the same everywhere, you know? Like, it's as if, it's not as if, impunity prevails. Sometimes there are no laws, and when laws do exist, women don't report cases of violence because they're afraid they won't be taken seriously, or they're afraid they'll be judged by the police officer. So I think that the government also needs to train police officers, because sometimes these police officers, who are usually men, are also abusive men. So they need to be trained. Maybe the government should train female officers so that women feel more confident to report cases of violence, so that women feel understood and supported, because it's not an easy thing to report cases of violence, especially when it comes to your own husband or boyfriend. The government should also establish statistics on violence. How do you want to tackle gender-based violence without any statistics? It doesn't make sense. And I think that the lack of statistics in our African countries actually show the low interest our governments have on women issues, and especially on gender-based violence. Governments should also create centers for abused women, and also centers for kids, because kids are the direct and indirect victim of the violence endured by their mothers. There should also be centers for men, because we wouldn't be talking about gender-based violence if there weren't any abusive men. So they also need to be sensitized and helped. I would like to give the example of Rwanda, because in Rwanda, when we talk about women rights, we often talk about Rwanda. Well, when it comes to Africa, in 2008, the Parliament adopted a law on the prevention and repression of gender-based violence. There was also a toll-free. There's a toll-free number that was established, and victims can call whenever to seek for help. And also, the government created a center called One Stop Isange, where victims can report cases of violence, and they benefit from free medical care, free legal and psychological support, as well as a free emergency accommodation. So I think that Rwanda should be a good example for other African countries who truly want to fight against gender-based violence. Another level of responsibility concerns parents. We need to educate our boys. It's funny, but not at the same time funny. I don't know if it's an African thing, But like often I hear African moms proudly say that they have raised their kids alone. But then my question is, how come men who have been raised by women become monsters once adults? How come they become violent to to other women? And so I think that like we should educate our boys. How many mothers tell their sons, talk about gender violence to their sons? How many of them tell them it's not a good thing to hit a woman? So I think that these are important things, important questions parents should have, especially moms should have with their sons. We also need to educate our girls. I don't know how it works in your country, but like in my country, I often hear mothers tell their daughters, oh, you should marry a man who buys you a car. You should marry a man who buys you a house, as if by their own they couldn't buy themselves houses or cars. And so it creates a sort of like gender hierarchy where we are being taught that boys or that men are superior to us, and that without men there are certain things we cannot achieve. And this is a shame. And also we should teach our girls that marriage is not an end in itself. There's a big thing about marriage in our African countries where we have to get married, we need to have kids, and violence then becomes a component of marriage, because often when women are abused women report cases of violence, their families, their mothers, aunts will tell them, oh no, it's part of marriage, we all went through this, yeah, you're a strong woman, just think about the kids. And so violence becomes a component of marriage, which is not true. We should not tell our girls that they have to accept to be beaten. So comes to the education part. Civil society. There's a major role played by NGOs and foundations such as SheDreams Africa, who raise awareness on important topics about women, and who help young girls reach their full potential. And also in this room today, we have a big role to play. We need to speak up. We need to use social media to amplify our voices. We need to share stories of abused women as much as possible, so that everybody sees and hear about gender-based violence and can no longer ignore the problem. And to conclude, because I think I'm running out of time, as I told you earlier, I've talked to different friends from different African countries, and the situation is almost the same. Impunity prevails. Yet every day women are attacked. Every day a woman dies from the blows of her companions. Every day women commit suicide to escape daily violence. And sometimes they leave behind their children, lost, confused, alone. So the question is, until when? How long will we accept that women, our sisters, be killed, commit suicide because of abusive relationships? It is true that in many African countries, the support given to abused women is still too weak. We also need to do more awareness campaigns on gender-based violence. I do agree. But today, we have a great power in our hands: social media. Social media allows us to denounce gender-based violence cases, to condemn degrading and inhuman behaviors women are subjected to. Social media allows us to put pressure on our governments to make things happen. So next time, because obviously it will happen again, you hear about the story of a woman who's abused, of a woman who was killed or who committed suicide because of an abusive relationship, ask yourself, what did I do to prevent this? You know, we all have a role to play in this. And always remember that no action is too small. Now is the time to act, and we must no longer be silent. And finally, combating gender-based violence it's not the fight of women against men. It's the fight of us all for humanity.
Oh, thank you, Anaid. Thank you very much. To the participants, you can type your questions in the comments section, in the chat section, and then we'll read them out. Yeah. So go to our last but one speaker. We have Ajoba Neda. She's a student. She'll share with us what she has for us. It's the day of the girl child, and so she's the girl child. She's representing the girls today. Yeah. Please go ahead.
So hi, I'm Ajoba, and I went to Holy Child. I completed this year. And in Holy Child, I served as the president of the Ghana United Nations Students and Youth Association, and I was also on the debate team. So today I'll be talking about my experiences during COVID-19 and also what I expect post-COVID-19. So in 2009, as Ghanaians thought that we had witnessed our final pandemic, that's the H1N1 virus. But COVID-19 came to dispute that thought. And when we first recorded cases in COVID-19, I was away in school, and so I thought COVID-19 was far. However, we were asked to come home in March, and so when I got home, I realized that COVID-19 was real. COVID-19 has had negative impacts on all of us. Some relatives have lost their jobs. Others have lost their lives. The economy has been weakened. Teenage pregnancy is on the ascendancy. And for us students, our academic calendar has been disrupted. And so we were asked to come home immediately. And so we were unable to finish our syllabus. And then even though we had online classes, they weren't as effective as classroom work. But for me, I had the greatest positive impact of COVID-19 during the lockdown period. And so I like to call that period a period of thorough reflection, because during that period, I was able to sit alone and then try to figure out who I was, what I wanted to become, where I wanted to get to. I challenged myself in several ways. I set goals, short-term goals, long-term goals. And also, very importantly, I improved my culinary skills. And so I've also noticed that there has been a decrease in the incidence rate of this disease in our country. And so I hope that as the year comes to an end, so will the cases reduce gradually, and come next year in January, we would have recorded 0 cases in COVID-19. I also look forward to attending lectures without a mask on. I look forward to seeing girls who have had a major impact of this lockdown period. So they have improved their skills. They have taken up several roles. And so, as I said in my profile, I believe in gender equality and not in male superiority, neither in female superiority. And so I believe that women can and will get to the top if they are given the right push. And so I hope that this period of lockdown and COVID-19 will serve as a period of reflection for other girls, so that they would be able to match up to the standards of this society. I also look forward to seeing an improvement in our educational system. So I'd like to end here.
Thank you, Neda. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you to all the other speakers too. So we have a message from one of our co-founders, she's not able to join us because she's not around, but we're going to play a video she sent us. And so we just watch the video now.
And participants of this webinar, we are really happy to be celebrating the Day of the Girl Child with you all on this webinar. I believe the discussions have been fruitful, engaging, and very eye-opening. We at SheDreams are extremely excited about today and the celebrations. Our core aim is to empower people to reach their maximum potentials, especially the girl child. Last year, we partnered with the Alliance of US and the GES in bringing a conference that girls can do anything. One of our discussions was on creating safe spaces for young girls where they can be comfortable to bring out issues that was bothering their welfare. In effect, making their voices heard. That's why we are so excited about this My Voice, Our Equal Future. We believe it is time girls speak up about issues concerning their welfare without any fear. We believe it is time for girls to be bold and confident about. We believe it is time for girls to be bold and confident about their voice, remembering that our voice is our power. Here, we always encourage young girls to speak up. We have mentors who are ever ready to listen and give guidance on issues bothering young girls. Being it rape, being it child marriage, being it bullying, whatever issues in the homes, at school, in open spaces, wherever young girls find themselves in any situation, being it positive or negative, we want to hear the voice of our young girls. I believe this is the time. There is power in our voice, and this is the time for our voices to be heard. We at SheDreams are ever ready to offer our assistance to anybody who is willing to get his or her voice heard. You can follow us on our social media platforms or visit our website at www.SheDreamsAfrica.com and then chat with us. We wish all the girl child, every girl child, are equal and a happy Girl Child Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinah. Thank you, Dinah. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but is there any participant who would like to ask a question before we go ahead? All right, we'll go back to Vera. Vera Addo, you give us your final submission.
Hi. Hi, Teresa. Okay, great. Sure. So I think that today it's an important day for us to celebrate as people, as Ghanaians, as Africans, and as a globe as well, because it's a day for us to recognize and appreciate the girl child. There's been a lot of societal barriers and challenges as a young girl growing up. And it differs from community to community, from village to village, from country to country. But the issue of the girl child usually is similar across board. And so it's important that we all take deliberate steps to ensure that girls' voices are being amplified. I have a responsibility, you have a responsibility wherever we find ourselves. In schools, at homes, at churches, it's important that we recognize that girls, young people know their own problems, they know the solutions as well. So we give them that spaces, we create it for them, giving them the enabling environment, the enabling spaces, and also to the government, giving them the enabling policies and systems that girls can actually sustain. They need to be protected in their schools when they step out. Girls need to feel safe in an environment where they can accomplish their dreams and their aspirations. And for us as civil society NGOs that work with girls, it's important that we respect their views, we listen to them, and encourage them to share their own stories in any way, in any creative way, in any innovative means that they want to put their messages across. And it's important that we do that. I know SheDreams Africa has done a lot working with girls, and as we continue to work with them, we're excited to see a lot of girls in many spaces now. And we pray that such young girls also go back to the communities wherever they find themselves to also serve as peer mentoring to their colleagues as well. And then together we can rise. We can't see situations change in the future when we don't make conscious effort to support the little ones that we have now. And so the girls we have now must be empowered, must be trained to ensure that we have a better future for our girls. And so we need to really support girls wherever we find ourselves, and we all have a responsibility, and it starts wherever we find ourselves in whichever small way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Would invite Ms. Chumesiwa Minoenchi to also give her final submission.
Okay, thank you, Vera. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anaik. Thank you, Sonia. Thanks to everyone who joined. What I'd like to say is that, like I said earlier, we should all know that dreams and visions do not come with gender. So whatever your dream is, you need to work towards it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Whatever you dream to achieve, you just need to work harder, work at it. Do not say that I'm a woman, so I cannot do this. And when people tell you that you cannot do it, don't do it because you want to prove to them. You need to ask yourself, what do you want to do for yourself? It starts with you first. What you want to do for yourself should push you to do better. If they tell you you can't do this, then for yourself you believe you can't do, that's when you stop. But if you know that's deep within you, you want it, work hard at it, do everything you can. And for the rest of us, let us be more encouraging, more accepting, more helping. Like since I've worked with SheDreams, we meet a lot of young girls, a lot of people. We go to schools where we actually had a call from a school that nobody has graduated BEC in the past for so long. So when you hear these things, what do? You need to be an example to these girls. You need to help them. You need to talk to them. You need to make a change wherever you are. You don't have to get a huge platform. You need to start. It starts with you. The ones around you, what are you doing to help them? So today, as we're celebrating the International Day of the Girl Child, let us help give voices to the children that we have, the girls around us. Because with everyone's voice, as we all have our individual voices, as we help each other, we get an equal voice, and then we get an equal future. And like Achuba said, it's not about making girls like how nowadays people are always fighting about feminism. It's not about making girls greater than guys, but it's about creating equal opportunities. It's about us not being marginalized because you are a woman. It's about us being able to do this, and it's about us being able to create platform for other women, and for the fact that because of you, for what you did, an employer, a teacher, and an older person would want to give a fair advantage to another girl. So please let us encourage ourselves and let us help get an equal future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chumesiwa. Ajuba, please share with us your final submissions. Ajuba. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to add that girls should realize that they are worth more than they know. And then I also want to encourage them to do something profitable during this period. Even as majority of us are home, I want to encourage them to do something profitable, learn a skill, take up an online course, do something that would set them apart from their peers, so that they would rise high and not see as far with their mates. And so they will stand out among their peers. Yes, thank you.
Thank you to Anayik Moboye. Yeah. Please add up whatever you wanted to add up earlier.
Thank you, Teresa. I think that these ladies said it all. Unfortunately, as women, we often have to do more efforts in what we do, to do more efforts in what we do to remind society that we also can achieve greatness. And as Tumi said, people will often make us feel that we're not qualified for the job because we're a female, because we're young, because we're Black, and the icing on the cake, because we're African. I think that what they're actually doing is just putting their own limits on us. And that's why women should never try and fit in the box society has for them. We should design our own boxes and always remember that the only limits that exist are the ones that we put in our heads.
Wow. The only limits that exist are the ones that we put in our head. Anaik, and then Chumeswati says, dreams and skills don't come with gender. We have some few comments, I'll just read them. I just want to say congratulations to the organizers for the platform and to all speakers for sharing their stories and opinions on how we can all contribute to advance the equality agenda for all. Cheers, all the speakers for sharing. Thank you. Very good initiative, continue. Agreed, well done, SheDreams. It's been insightful. Thank you, SheDreams. Thank you, everyone, too. It's been very insightful. Yeah, I've learned a lot, too. I'd give one opportunity to any participant who has something to share, just one participant. Thank you, everyone, for joining SheDreams International Day of the Girl Child webinar themed My Voice, Our Equal Future. Thank you for sharing your voices, your individual voices with us this afternoon or evening, depending on where you find yourself. Thank you to all the participants for tuning in. And you are always, you can follow us on SheDreams Africa on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn too. Our website is www.SheDreamsAfrica. The hand that's up.
Okay, this is Common Messi. I'm the General Secretary of WACSOF, West African Civil Society Forum. And actually, I want to commend you for having organized this. I saw this from Vera, who is our national platform coordinator in Ghana. So I just want to thank you for organizing this, and let's continue the dialogue. And at WACSOF, we are the umbrella of all the civil society organizations in West Africa. So let's engage together in order to channelize this conversation to ECOWAS and all the authorities, so to have impactful activities with them, and then to have decision makers being informed and making the right decision for girls, for women, and against gender-based violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. We are very grateful. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Everybody, yeah. Thank you for joining us. We hope to engage you some more. Please do well to follow all our social media handles and follow us for all other updates. Thank you. My name is Teresa Anefi, your host for today. Thank you very much.